My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching The Political Vigilante. So, a bunch of white nationalist terrorists, militias. When they're white people, it's militias. When they're people of color, they're either terrorists or gang members. But a bunch of white terrorists, domestic terrorists, had a plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan. Some of these people were the people who were on the Michigan courthouse earlier this year protesting because they couldn't get a haircut. Showed up with guns, and the cops just let that slide. People show up to a peaceful protest, and someone throws a plastic water bottle, and the cops go nuts when it's a Black Lives Matter protest. So I don't know why we can't call these groups domestic terrorists. And guess what? Maybe the reason we can't is because they were trained by our military. Yeah. 2 who served in the Marines are among those charged in plot to kidnap Michigan's governor. Military records also confirm that Joseph Morrison and Daniel Harris served as cops. Morrison, 26, continued to serve with the reserve forces until last week, the Marines said. His exit from the reserves is unrelated to events in Michigan, they said. We are aware of the circumstances surrounding the 2 individuals and will assist the investigating authorities in any way we can, the Marine Corps said. The serious allegations are not a reflection on the Marine Corps, but do not reflect the oath every Marine takes to support and defend the Constitution, and do not align with our core values of honor, courage, and commitment. He joined the reserves in 2015, earning the rank of Lance Corporal, and last served as an equipment mechanic and an engineer support company in Battle Creek, Michigan. Harris, 23, was a rifleman in the Marine Corps from 2015 to 2019 and achieved the rank of corporal. A rifleman, he last served in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and counted numerous medals among his honors, including the Good Conduct Medal. 13 people were charged in the alleged plot. Federal and state officials in the alleged scheme included plans to overthrow several state governments, and that the suspects believe are violating the Constitution, according to the federal complaint. 6 people were charged federally with conspiracy to kidnap, and 7 other people associated with a local armed group called the Wolverine Watchmen. Call them domestic terrorists, CNN. Call them domestic terrorists. I'm so sick of this pussyfooting around. I'm really tired of it. They are domestic terrorists. Say that with me, CNN. Domestic, not militia, not armed groups. They are domestic terrorists. Remember Oklahoma bombing? Remember everybody thought, oh, this is Al-Qaeda, this is the middle. Now it's domestic terrorists. Can you imagine? I want everybody to just take a second here and think for just a second. If this was 13 Arabs, 13 Muslims that we arrested in this plot, people would be going bananas. Instead, Fox News is like, well, we'll see, or I don't know. They are domestic terrorists. CNN, Fox, MSNBC, they are domestic terrorists. Trained by the Marines, some of them. Police officers, some of them. Weird. It's almost like the Defund the Police Black Lives Matter campaign is talking about this very thing. Systemic racism within the military, within police departments. These are a threat to America's safety. We spend trillions of dollars on all these threats overseas so they don't come to our shores. Well, they're here. They've been here. They killed a bunch of kids in Oklahoma City. They're shooting people. One of them shot Kyle Rittenhouse. He's a domestic terrorist. He was raised by a terror cult. These white nationalists are the single greatest threat to America's safety and stability. They're the ones undermining this country. They're the ones doing this. Imagine if armed members of Al-Qaeda showed up at a protest and shot people. I'm so sick of this crap. Just because they wrap themselves in an American flag, we give them a pass? They're parasites. They're racists. Racism is what is holding America back. We should be leading the world in innovation and technology. Instead, we have homegrown Nazis. We fought Nazis in World War II. They're domestic terrorists. Let's talk, because it's another thing. If they were Muslim or Arab, we would talk about which mosques they've been to and this, that. Why don't we say this? White Christian terrorists. I bet you these guys have gone to some church at some point, even if it was just for Christmas when they were a kid. Let's call them white Christian terrorists. Let's do that. So these are what these fine, upstanding gentlemen look like. The 5 other men that the federal government charged are Michigan residents Adam Fox, Ty Garbin, Caleb Franks, Brandon Sestra, along with Delaware resident Barry Crofts. These are terrorist cells. There's terror cells. The 6 others charged in the state are Paul Beller, Sean Fix, Eric Molter, Michael Null, William Null. Oh, great. 2 brothers. Fantastic. And Pete Musico. They face a variety of firearm and terror charges. Then call them terrorists. The arrests underline warnings from law enforcement officials, Congress, and groups tracking extremism about the rising threat of extremism and far-right groups. Oh, by the way, Fox News and all you other idiots, it's not Antifa. This wasn't Antifa that did this. Far-right groups that probably felt pretty fired up when Trump went, Proud Boys standing by. Whitmer has been the focus of vitriol from far-right groups over the handling of the coronavirus pandemic. Boogaloo supporters among arrests, sources say. Fox reached out to a Michigan-based militia group. That's a domestic terrorist group, Fox. Use the correct words, you fucking idiots. The criminal complaint said. After he was introduced to the group's leader, he allegedly said he needed 200 men to storm the Capitol in Lansing and take Whitmer and others hostage. Fox said he would try the governor for treason before the November elections, the criminal complaint. The attendees discussed plans for assaulting the Michigan State Capitol, countering law enforcement, first responders, and using Molotov cocktails to destroy police vehicles. Call them domestic terrorists. And this is what happens when you're in war for 19 years. Do you remember a couple of those guys that shot cops? There was one guy in Dallas and one guy in Baton Rouge. They were ex-military as well. So there's a lot of people with military training on all sides of this spectrum. Black, Latino, white. This is a powder keg. And this is only going to get worse. This is how fascism rises up. Authorities believe several of the suspects arrested in the alleged plot are supporters of the Boogaloo movement, a law enforcement source said to CNN. The Boogaloos are an emerging incarnation of extremism that seems to defy easy categorization. Boogaloo members appear to hold conflicting ideological views, with some identifying as anarchists and others rejecting formal titles. Some pocket of the group have espoused white supremacy, while others reject it. They also talk about being very anti-police. This is the, yeah. So when are we going to call these militias white nationalists? It's a terror organization. This is what terrorists do. Terror. You just cause terror. You make societies unsafe. You don't have to just be Muslim. Our war machine and the American propaganda machine have made it so when we hear the word terrorism, we think, oh, Muslim extremists. Terrorism is any form of extremist. These guys are here. Why are we spending trillions of dollars? But we're bombing 7 countries right now and sanctioning a bunch of other ones. There's wildfires in Syria and Lebanon that are brutal wildfires, and it's even worse because we're sanctioning them. You know, when we destabilize country, oh, Venezuela, they're destabilized, we got to go in and help. Well, America's completely destabilized, which might be part of the design. Maybe there's private intelligence that was hoping to get this succeeded in capturing her so that there would be rioting in the streets. Because the end game, I don't know, the end game feels like to me they want to lock us into martial law. That feels like the end game. Just create chaos in the streets, however they can do it, and then get martial law. Because when martial law happens, all rights are gone, suspended. Any cop, soldier can pull you over, arrest you for any reason. They don't need due cause. They don't need anything. You just stop. Oh, sorry. Safety, restore order. They can just we got to restore order to anything. So I'm going to cover this in a way CNN is not covering it. I'm going to use the term domestic terrorist, and I will continue to use that term. And you should too in your social media posts. Get that messaging out there, because we're up against the ruling class. We're up against the war machine. We're up against many of whom are probably white nationalists themselves. I mean, Operation Paperclip showed us we brought Nazis into this country after World War II. And they infiltrated our government and society. That's why we've never really gotten rid of Nazis. They did it in Germany. They did a really good job in Germany. Oh, I don't want to be too intolerant. Well, I'm intolerant of Nazis. I'm willing to listen to different points of views until you're a Nazi. You tell me the Holocaust didn't happen, then I don't give a fuck what you have to say. I'm for freedom of speech up to a certain point. But when and this is what happened in Weimar Germany leading up to, because we don't study what led up to Hitler getting into power in America. We just say, oh, Hitler was bad. He got to power in what, 32? He didn't get to power in 32 and just go, oh, death camps, we're starting World War II. Everything Hitler did was legal. And a lot of liberal elites in Germany kind of let it happen. They helped let it happen. So I'm sorry, I am not tolerant of Nazis and fascism. And the left, the true left, the anti-war, pro-labor, socialist left, our biggest enemy is neoliberals. The people within the Democratic Party that screwed Bernie Sanders twice, and Bernie went along with it, so he's to blame. He's partially to blame for this. They're the ones that have allowed this fascism to continue. Because if you have populist platforms that are giving everybody jobs and school, there's a lot less need for extremism. Extremism pops up, especially when it popped up in Germany after the 1929 stock market affected the whole world. So this is how fascism grows. Antifa stands for anti-fascist. Thanks for supporting the show, folks. Like, share, subscribe. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood. Go to rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, the blockchain cryptocurrency platform. I cannot do this show without your support. Follow me on social media. Listen to the Political Vigilante podcast on iTunes and Spotify. And thank you so much for making Gotham great again. Boom.